We're starting now to get reaction from Syria after Donald Trump yesterday accepted Israel's claim of sovereignty over the Golan Heights. Previous administrations have treated that as occupied Syrian territory. But the U.S. president, with his decision, is reversing decades of foreign and international policy on the region. Rebecca Collard is on that story for us. This is out of Beirut for us. And good to see you, Rebecca, on this, because it really was a stunning move by the president yesterday. And what are we now hearing in response from Syria?
Yeah, exactly, Heather. I think this news shocked a lot of people, a lot of Syria's allies, but also the U.S.'s allies in the region. And I'll just read you a little bit from a statement we had this morning from Syria's foreign minister in response to the comments by Trump and also by his administration. The statement from the foreign ministry says that this will not change the fact that the Syrian Golan it will remain Arab and remain Syrian, and that the Syrian people are more resolved and more determined and more persistent to liberate this precious spot of Syrian soil by all means possible and bring it back to the motherland. So basically what we're hearing from Syria's foreign ministry is, of course, rejecting this decision by U.S. President Donald Trump, but also saying that this is going to make them more determined to actually take this territory back from Israeli occupation. So as we've been talking about on the program, Israel occupied this area in 1967. In 1981, they annexed the area, but that has not until now been recognized by the international community. So Syria this morning saying that, of course, it condemns it, rejects it, saying that these comments from Trump show a real rejection of international standards and of international resolutions, because, there have been UN resolutions that recognize this area as Syrian territory and reject Israel's annexing of the area. So very strong statements from Syria this morning, also from its allies, Iran and Russia, and even from the U.S. ally Turkey, which has warned that this could really cause a regional crisis, Heather.
So you've given some of the historical context and some of the diplomatic and political tensions around it. But having been to the area, as I know you have been, Rebecca, since we're going to be talking about this, I'm sure, for the days to come, just explain a little bit more what it is like, the Golan Heights, and a little bit more, if you would, on why it is so important regionally.
Yeah, Heather, I have been to this area a number of times, and it is really fascinating and quite dramatic landscape. So you have the Sea of Galilee, which is a massive freshwater lake, actually, and a number of Israeli communities along this lake. And then you have the Golan Heights, which really rises dramatically out of the edge of the Sea of Galilee and up into this plateau, which then, of course, is the Golan Heights, and that area that stretches into that is occupied by Israel, but also part of the Golan Heights, which is occupied, which is still controlled by Syria. And even to this day, Heather, you can go there, you can see the old Syrian army bases that were in this area. Much of this area is still covered with landmines, and there's signs everywhere warning people who might be going hiking there or walking in the fields there that they should be careful. And if you talk to the people in the kibbutzes and in the villages below the Golan Heights, many of them will tell you stories about how when the Syrian government did occupy this area, that the Syrian soldiers were actually able to shoot into the homes in these Israeli communities near the sea. Now, the point here from Syria, given its statement today, and also from the region, is that, of course, as Trump said, this is a strategically important area for Israel and for its security, but that does not mean that Israel is able to annex an area that's occupied. That is not how international law works. So I think this is why Israel is so determined to take this area, and also but this is not going to be accepted by Syria and by its allies in the region. Heather.
Rebecca, thank you very much. Rebecca Collard there in Beirut as we begin our coverage there. But let's bring things back to the studio and to John Northcott, because, John, we do expect to see more reaction to Donald Trump's expressing the support for Israel throughout this day. It was really quite a diplomatic bombshell yesterday, in that it is a reversal of so many decades of foreign policy tradition. Rebecca mentioned some of the allies allies, some of the adversaries. Just some more of the international reaction, John. What more are you seeing?
Yeah, indeed, Heather. This is an area, as Rebecca was saying, is strategically important, historically important for both sides in what has been a long-standing dispute, of course, a shooting war on several occasions. When you look at it strategically, here it is here with Syria. It's a buffer between Syria, Jordan, and Lebanon, effectively for Israel. 15% of Israel's water comes from the high mountainous areas. We have, for example, some 30 settlements, 20,000 Israelis living within this area. With the president's tweet fully recognizing the sovereignty over the Golan Heights, the reaction has been swift. We've seen Erdogan of Turkey say that the region could be on the brink of a crisis. Why Erdogan important? Well, of course, certainly within the Muslim world, a key leader, but also a NATO ally in this with the United States and a partner with the United States in many military activities in the region. So not a happy man with the announcement by the U.S. president. Iran, the move illegal and unacceptable. Russia, a direct violation of UN sanctions. The Arab League, this is beyond international law. Coming quickly in terms of the reaction, having said not too long ago in reaction to the potential move like this by the United States, the UN Special Envoy for Syria saying this, the Security Council is very clear that the Golan is Syrian territory. As the rest of the world wakes up to this news, there will be plenty more reaction. Heather?
So, John, a lot of people looking at this, certainly seeing it as an endorsement of Benjamin Netanyahu, who's facing a difficult election coming up early next month. Is this part of the thinking? Because many people just can't figure out why Trump would make this move now.
Yeah, almost certainly. This, let's not forget that Netanyahu embattled fighting for re-election Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, in the region before the tweet came out from the president, signaling that long-standing support of, let's not forget, not too long ago, the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. So there it is there, the statement and the signals of solidarity between the two individuals. Also, let's not forget, key Trump advisors, John Bolton and Jared Kushner, have long advocated for moves like this and for the further emboldening of Israel within the region. So that might be part of it as well. A long-standing friendship between Netanyahu and Trump. Worth noting, Netanyahu due in Washington in the near future. And as you say, Heather, in a couple of weeks, Netanyahu fighting for his political life in terms of a scandal that have enveloped him. And there is, worth noting, in Israel, tremendous respect and support for Donald Trump. Heather?
Thank you so much,
Okay.
John Northcott.